A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is James Okumu. It's another day where we get to hang out with Professor Ndete on Food for Thought with Professor Ndete. Professor, how are you doing today?
I'm good.
Thank you for inviting us to your office.
Most welcome.
Great. Today I want us to talk about paranoia.
Yes.
Yeah. What would you define paranoia to be?
I think paranoia is a word that's not so easy to define, especially for the lay person. When I'm talking to doctors and psychiatrists, we all understand it. But when it comes to lay understanding of the word, it's very important, in my view, to put it in a broad spectrum.
Okay.
And I think we can say at the very initial stages, paranoia can be seen as a kind of suspiciousness of what is happening around you, especially if you do not quite understand what is happening. That is perfectly understandable paranoia, and is a way of feeling safe from the people around you, the intentions, what they might be thinking about you. It's just kind of being safe from the environment.
Okay.
And when you don't quite understand what is happening in your environment, then you become suspicious. You want to understand. That's why I want to know what's going on. That's perfectly normal. And that is one end of the spectrum. But then as it achieves what we call clinical proportions, you may now start talking about paranoia. That is as a result of very strenuous circumstances that are happening in your mind mentally, and you really, again, don't understand what's going on. But this is in such a degree that it's quite out of the abnormal. And then we have paranoia, which is completely arises from the blue. There is no way you can understand it. And we call it primary paranoia, or it achieves the level of a delusion, where a delusion is a belief that you cannot be understood in terms of the circumstances. It cannot be understood in terms of your culture, even what people around you consider to be normal. They cannot understand. We call it is a paranoid delusion. So from normal to what we may call reactive paranoia, to what we call sometimes secondary paranoia, because it can be understood in terms of what is going on in your mind, and we can talk about that. And then primary delusion, which cannot be a paranoid delusion, which cannot be understood in another parallel way.
Okay.
And life is full of examples of this, and I hope as we go along, we can look at some of the very interesting examples.
Okay, I'm just wondering what are the symptoms? What are some of the things I can look at somebody and begin to think, okay, this could be paranoia?
I think they say even the paranoid have got their real enemies. So even when you have a person who is paranoid, it does not mean that because I'm paranoid and as a real mental symptom does not mean that I don't have a real enemy somewhere. Because it does not make me necessarily safe from people who may be against me. This happens all over the world with all people. But let's start with what I was describing. A normal reaction to things that you do not understand. So if you go to an environment and you are a stranger there, these people are talking, they may be talking their own language or a language that you do not understand, and you are there, or they are talking in a way that is not friendly, then really it's normal for you to say, really, am I safe in this kind of environment? That's perfectly normal. But then it becomes abnormal in situations which the paranoia is secondary to another condition. An example would be if you are hearing voices of people, and as we have said in the past, these voices can be very, very, very real to this person. And these voices are abusive and threatening, and you do not know where those voices are coming from. Then it's normal to assume that the people around you are the sources of those voices. And they may be talking, they are talking to you in a very abusive way or threatening way. This is what you are hearing in your mind. Then, and you really don't understand, because for you, you are hearing those voices.
They are real to you.
They are real to you. So if I am with you and I'm hearing these voices and I think they are coming from you, I'm going to be extremely suspicious about your intentions. And in fact, I may even attack you.
Wow.
Oh yes, because if I believe you are abusing me, and you are calling me names, and I am listening, and some of the noises, some of the voices are really very bad, very abusive. I am not going to take it lying down. I will confront you. Why are you abusing me? What have I done to you? So that is secondary paranoia because of a mental state. But then there are other types of paranoia where the person does not have another mental state, another condition. The paranoia itself is a condition. They are not reacting to whatever else might be happening in their bodies. The paranoia is the real condition. Now, before I move on to that, there are people who feel that with the technology, that the radio waves, there are radio waves that are affecting them. There are things that are taking thoughts from their mind or putting thoughts into their mind, or people think you are reading their minds. This is a condition we call it a passivity phenomenon. In other words, you are under external control. That is a state of the mind, which is abnormal state of the mind. And you are reacting to what you feel is happening around you because of the state of the mind. But paranoid delusions are very common. In fact, they tend to occur primarily in a condition we call schizophrenia, which is a very common condition. And the only presenting symptom is that they believe that people are against them, and there is no other mental state. If you ask them whether they are having hallucinations, they may or they may not be having hallucinations. If you ask them if they have what we call passivity phenomena, that is external control, they don't have it. And the only thing is this belief that people are against him, a particular person is against him. Now, when they develop these paranoid delusions, they tend to be very specific. They are not generalized. They tend to be very specific, and they are attached to a particular person. Like if I have a paranoid delusion, it is you. And I cannot attach it to anybody else. And I'll go looking for you. Either I run away, or I come and confront you. If I feel running away does not help, and you continue following. Let me give you a very classic example, which is very, very well documented and is in books. And that's why, as a result of that classic example, we started developing a very keen interest in the understanding of paranoia. It was a guy called Daniel McNaughton, a young man at that time. And he lived in UK, and he felt that the Prime Minister of UK was out to get him. And he represented the Tories, that is the party that was ruling at that particular time. And this Daniel McNaughton, he once lived in Glasgow. In fact, where the Prime Minister then came from. And he just felt this is too much. this person is following me. The prime minister is following me. Why does he want to kill a small person like me? He was actually 29 years. So he actually ran away to France,
Okay.
trying to escape this. And then they followed him. He followed these people, actually followed him in Paris. And so running away was not really the solution. So he decided to go back to London and face the prime minister, just kill him.
Yeah.
That was his mission. So he studied the movement of the prime minister very, very well. And he managed to acquire a gun. And he actually studied his movement from his residence to the parliament. And on this particular day, on a Friday, what he saw was not the prime minister, but it was his personal assistant coming out of his residence, going to the parliament, and he followed him, daylight, and he shot him 5 times from the back and killed him. He died 5 days later in one of the hospitals next to the parliament.
Yeah.
And of course, he didn't hide it. The policemen arrested him, took to the nearest police station, and he said, this man he has followed me all over the place. I ran away. These two came after me. So it was either I die
or he dies.
That was a choice. And then, of course, the policemen didn't quite understand what was going on that particular time. So the Dr. Norton, came to know about it, and he did a proper psychiatric history, and he talked to very many people. He talked to his father, who used to work in Glasgow. He talked to the pastors, because he went looking for help.
Yes.
Yeah. He talked to very many friends. He talked to many doctors who had looked at him after him. And eventually, they came to the conclusion that this man was actually acting in self-defense. That's what his mind was telling him. Yeah. You see, the problem was with the mind. They call it mens rea. The problem was that with the mind. But then the mind led him to commit the act, what they call actus rea. You see, in other words, there is a difference between what the mind thinks and what eventually the person does.
Yes.
In other words, it's like self-defense. And if you are in a situation you feel completely cornered and you kill a thug, in your mind, this is a thug.
Yes.
That's why people are allowed to carry guns for self-defense.
Yes.
Then, as far as mind was concerned, it was just self-defense.
Wow.
And at that time, it caused a lot of uproar. And the then Queen Victoria got concerned because in this happened in 1943, January 20th, and that is 1843. 1840. There was a similar incident, but it didn't attract a lot of attention.
Okay.
So that's how people started studying carefully this condition. Lawyers know about this because as a result of that, we have what is known as McNaughton rules.
Yes.
So that was really the very beginning of serious study of paranoia.
That's all the time we have today for Food for Thought with Professor Ndete. I hope that these conversations that we are having are conversations that are beneficial to you. In case you need further help, don't hesitate. Our SMS line 20316, SMS number WhatsApp 0786316316. Maybe we can help connect you to the help that is available so that you can ensure that your family members or your friends or your relatives find the help that they need. So don't be afraid to reach out using those 2 numbers. Have yourselves a great day and God bless you.